A marginal tax rate only applies after a certain point. And to keep it relevant, I want to focus on the numbers that have been proposed by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez because that's gotten a lot of attention. And she uses some nice even numbers like 10 million and 70%, so that makes my life easier. Okay, so I'm going to use one example in this scenario. If someone made 12 million in taxable income, and again, it could be that that person made 50 million in a year and spent 38,000 on taxable deductions, on deductions that were exempt, expenses that were exempt. So basically, like, let's say that that person owned a business and they put in 38,000 of their own dollars into that business or whatever it might be, or maybe they made a bunch of contributions to their retirement fund, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There are lots of things that are exempt from taxes. And so this person probably made a lot more than 12 million a year, but their taxable income, the things after expenses, is 12 million. And let's say we implemented this 70% marginal tax rate. So now I add another bracket to the bottom of my list. I'm gonna have to kneel for this one. So now we're gonna say 10 million plus 70%. Okay, and again, that is only after all of these brackets have been applied. Okay, so bear with me. This is gonna take a hot second because we're gonna have to run through all 7 brackets, and now there's an 8th one. So I actually calculated this ahead of time so that you wouldn't have to watch me use the calculator, but I really encourage you to practice this or use a different number. Use 14,000 and see if you can get it. Okay, so this first bracket, here we go. 9525 at 10% is $953. So that's our first one. Boom. The second category, you are going to make all of that. So you're going to be taxed on $29,174. And that's at 12%. So you are going to pay $3,501. In the third bracket, we have 43,000, about 800 taxable income dollars, and that's at 22%. Boom. And you're going to pay $9,635. Cool. We're cruising along here. Tax bracket number 4. We're here. Okay, so that is a range of 75,000 about. I'm rounding up. And that is taxed at 24%. And so that gives us 18,000. In tax bracket number 5, you're taxed on a range of 42,500-ish. And you're taxed at 32% in that tax bracket, which means you'd be paying 13,600. That's something I thought was kind of interesting. This 24 tax bracket range, when you have reached the maximum, you're actually paying more than the folks in the 32% range. Interesting. I thought that was very curious, but whatever. So the next range, we are at the 35%. We're almost done. Hang in there. Okay. So this is a taxable income range of about 300,000 at 35%. That means you'd be paying 105,000 on that income. And then we are in the last tax bracket, which means with the marginal tax rate, we're going to go up to 10 million. So 10 million minus 500,000 about is 9.5 million. Okay, I'll write it out. Whoops. So 9.5 million. Hopefully you can see that. That took me a little extra space. So at 37% on the remaining $9.5 million, you would be paying $3,515,000 about. Actually, let's round that up because it's 3,515 and $500. Oh my gosh, my fives are hard. My chalk is getting tiny. Okay, so let's pause for a second because you've watched me write a lot of numbers. So now, the first half of our 10 million, or sorry, how do I phrase that? 500,000 of our 10 million are these first 6 tax brackets. So I think that's where things get a little confusing, because once you get into the really large numbers, the majority of your income is falling in these higher tax brackets. But you have to do a lot of work on that first 500,000 to figure out how much you pay. And if we were to stop here, we would end up with $3,666,188. Again, I encourage you to check my numbers. You should do that with all of your teachers. Okay, so my first question is, what percentage would you be paying if we just stopped there? So in this case, I would stop at 10 million, but 3,666,188 divided by 10 million is a tax rate of 36.6%. So folks earning 10 million a year on average pay less than 37% in the top bracket. So that's to show you how these tax rates in these different brackets actually break down. Okay, so now let's apply the proposed marginal tax rate of 70% on the last 2 million that you have earned. So that means in this last tax bracket, this 8th tax bracket, you are only you're only paying 70% on 2 million of that. And so 70% of 2 million, can y'all still see? Numbers are getting real small here. Okay, so 70% of 2 million is 1.4 million. Okay. So I'm going to write at the top here because it's getting a little hard to see. So that would be a total tax contribution. I'll get my little piece of chalk. It seems to be working better at writing these small numbers. 5,066,189. So if someone had a taxable income of $12 million, they probably had a lot of other expenses, and it ended up as $12 million that they brought home, and we had this 70% marginal tax rate. How would that change their average tax rate? So again, before it was 36.6%. Well, actually, that's not quite right, but that's okay. So their average tax rate with the marginal tax. Wait, hold on. Okay. The average tax rate that they would pay is actually 42.2%. I got a lot of numbers up here. You're probably like, what? Where did that go? Okay, hold on. I'll put it down here. Whoop. 42.2. Okay, bear with me. I need a bigger chalkboard. So that's really interesting to me, because this means that even though there is a 70% tax rate, marginal tax rate, the average tax rate a person making $12 million in taxable income would pay is only 42.2%. I think that's the most interesting thing about this discussion, is that these numbers are thrown out But they are not the end all be all. Because our system is in brackets, your income is not taxed at a flat rate. So you have to think about the average tax rate that we are paying, or that someone in this income bracket would be paying. Because it actually is a lot less than you would think. Things might get a little bit different. This average percentage is going to go way up if you are making $12 billion a year. Then your average tax rate is going to be closer to 70%. But again, you're still not taxed at that rate for the first 10 million that you make. Okay, this is a long video. I'm probably gonna have to break it into 2 parts. That's okay. But the last thing that I want to say is that why do we pay taxes? Well, we pay taxes. Where do our tax dollars go? We pay taxes because we live in a society. Because we live in a society where we want it to be easier for all of us to thrive and to live the best life that we can live. Because we are all better off when we aren't struggling to survive. And so our tax dollars, most of our tax dollars go to Medicare and Medicaid, which is a really great healthcare plan for folks. My parents recently went on Medicare. I always mix the two up. But anyway, they're on the government plan, and it's actually a really good plan. So most of our tax dollars pay into that, which is great because we all benefit from that. At a certain point, all of us will go on Medicare, Medicaid. Again, I always forget the two. The second thing that our tax dollars go to mostly is Social Security. So again, super important because eventually I want to retire and I want to enjoy my life. Well, I do enjoy my life, but eventually I'm just going to want to party. Yeah. And like, travel and all that good stuff and not have to worry about making an income at 70. So Social Security allows us to do that. We pay into it to help our parents, and then the next generation pays into it to help us. So that's the second biggest category that our tax dollars go to. The third category is defense. The fourth category are social safety net programs, so things like SNAP and programs to assist folks who are disabled, like veterans, programs to assist children and the elderly, so people that are the most vulnerable members of our society, because we're saying we're in this together. We're better off if we can all take care of each other. So those are the top 4 categories that our tax dollars go to. And so paying taxes is super important. Yeah, that's what I wanted to end on. Like, why would we care about this? Besides the fact that, like, we're handing over our hard-earned dollars to the government and trusting that they will use it to take care of all of us. Okay. Thank you very much for sticking through this very long video. I hope that it helped explain the US tax system as well as what a marginal tax rate would be and what it is. Please let me know if you have any questions about the things that we've covered here. And of course, let me know if there are any mathematical topics that you're curious about or things in math that you're like, what the heck is that? Can you please explain this? And we will tackle it together. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye!